Before I start this video off, I do want to mention the good news of if you decide to click on this video and you haven't seen Film Red yet, and you're a little bit worried about seeing spoilers or anything. Well, I have the good news that this video will be spoiler free. If you do want to see something actually spoiler related, where me and my brother, talking about the film, all that type of shit, I will provide the podcast link, I guess the card really, right above. But other than that, this video is just going to be spoiler free. I'm going to be speaking about something that I feel is very important to speak about, that I felt like needed a side video to that podcast that was shorter, but talked more so about my feelings with this movie and One Piece as a whole and how I felt with One Piece as of late. Because Film Red, as I mentioned in that podcast, is legitimately something else. It is fantastic. The music, the world building that obviously is only in the movie essentially, but still building on characters, just the general story it's able to tell and all that, and these beautiful fights, fantastic animation, everything like that. It is insane. And it's crazy to me because it accomplishes all this in less than 2 hours. That is the equivalent of 6 episodes, which maybe not in One Piece terms. I mean, One Piece does like to recap stuff for a decent while, so that might be a little bit more, right? That might be 7 or something like that. But it's still pretty damn impressive that just within that time, it managed to tell this great fucking story with all these wonderful characters like Uda, her relations with Shanks and making that interesting and all that, and with Luffy and all this. It was really fucking just cool to see all this shit, right? And how they built up this movie. And my main point with saying all this is how I felt with One Piece as of late. I don't think a lot of people would agree with my opinion on One Piece because, if I'm being real, look, I love this series, but I got an odd opinion about post-time skip, and that's the fact that, Dressrosa for me is my favorite arc out of the whole series. I love it. That arc is absolutely the best, I would say, that's come out of the series. But here's the thing. When I compare post-time skip to pre-time skip, there's not a lot that I feel is stronger post-time skip than pre-time skip. Like, the two big ones we could look at are Whole Cake and Wano. Whole Cake, I think, is great. It is a legitimately really good arc. However, I don't think that it beats out every single pre-time skip arc. In fact, I think there's a few time skip or pre-time skip arcs that I would argue are higher. But it's still pretty good, right? It's still pretty good as an arc and everything. It's just, I don't know, there's certain things with Whole Cake that I wasn't necessarily huge on. There was still a lot there that was, done well and everything and built well. But there were some things that I just generally felt okay about. And then there's Wano. Wano is pretty good, right? Except I'll get to the bad part, but hold on. Wano is pretty damn good. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. I love the building of Wano, right? I love the bigger world building to it, right? Because this is a brand new location. This is a closed off location that we've heard about throughout the series. All this shit, right? And we've met all these characters from there and all this stuff. And it's a really fucking interesting arc, and then we get into it, and it's pretty damn good. Albeit there's some slog type points, like scenes with Hawkins aren't great, and scenes with Queen aren't really always great. Sometimes it's okay, but sometimes it's not. But then we get to the third act, and we get Odin, and he's real good. right? The problem is, we get the rest of the third act, and in my opinion, and I've seen this opinion actually being decently common, the third act isn't that good. It feels very rushed. It feels like not a lot of stuff is built super well there. A lot of shit is just kind of there, and it's odd almost, right? It feels like Oda was really trying to time it in a way with Film Red, right, or do something in relation to that, and as a result, it kind of falls to that degree. But there's something to really be said when, this is my general opinion as of late, right? I haven't felt super huge on post time skip. There's still some good arcs in there, of course, and like I said, Dressrosa I absolutely love. But it's been just kind of, pretty good overall. If I had to give the overall rating of it, it's pretty good, right? Like, I think Fishman's good, but I really don't like Hody, and it kind of becomes a bit of a slog towards the second half. Punk Hazard is okay, Zoe is interesting, but it's also just an exposition arc, which is still good, right? I actually liked it, Zoe a decent bit, but it's mostly just story, really, that's there. But, the overall post-time skip has just kind of been like, it's alright. But when a movie comes out, and it is somehow just better than all that, like, it is so good. Film Red is so fucking good that, honest to God, like, if somehow, we were to rank this with arcs and everything, right? We were to take the movies and rank them with arcs and all that, I would possibly have to put it in, like, the second or third highest place. Because everything there feels really fucking good. And I love that. And, like, it's an odd feeling to me. Because, anime movies, they're cool. But they usually, I would say, fall between, like, one of two routes. And it's, here's this not canon movie. It's interesting, right? It's cool to see, whoever this villain may be and all this shit going on and all that. And this cool stuff that the characters have to do. But it doesn't really take it to any higher level than that. Or it's, well, here's an arc or something, whatever it may be, of the series, right? It's a continuation of the story. But it does generally just kind of feel like a continuation of the story, right? It feels like as if you were watching the anime, but just now as a movie and stuff like that. Film Red manages to take a weird secret third path that was just hidden behind a bookshelf, right? One of those, like, bookshelves where you open the book, essentially, right? You pull it out of the shelf and all of a sudden the whole thing starts opening up. Film Red takes that path in terms of not being canon, but, like, weirdly being so well built and everything that honestly you could just shove it in there and this would just be a fantastic arc to just have, even if it would be extremely fucking short. It's crazy to me because, like, I don't expect that out of most movies like this, right? I don't know. It's just not my general thing that I expect. I expect, anime movies to be pretty damn good, right? For the most part. But I don't expect them to take this, like, level of just insanely good. But, like, Film Red did that. And I'm honestly almost in disbelief, right? I was worried going into this movie because I didn't know if people were hyping it up too much, right? And all that shit. But it's good. It makes sense on why people hyped it up. I had to watch it twice. I've been debating if I want to go watch it a third time. It's still out. But it's just crazy to me that something that's just not canon, right? Something that's a simple, shorter by a little bit than, like, 2 hours type of production, right? A film like this was made, and it was this like degree of being good. It is absurd. Honest to God, if you are a fan of One Piece, I would recommend seeing the movie. Absolutely. If you're not, but you want to get into the series and you don't mind spoilers and all that shit, I'd say do it also, if that's the case, because really, this movie is really fucking incredible, right? I think it is absolutely worth it to see. Even if you're not a fan, but you know what, you might just think, like, oh, I might not start the series, but maybe this will be interesting, right? I know there's obvious stuff in there that might be confusing to some people going into it, but I think there could be a general enjoyment that you could receive out of watching that. It is really good, and I'm very happy I got to see it. But that's all I wanted to do with this video. I just wanted to go further into my thoughts with this because I felt like this was something very important I needed to state. Like I said, if you want to hear me talk more about the movie with my brother at that, a link to the podcast episode will be available at the card this way. I don't know which way it is. It'll be on screen. You'll see it. But yeah, that's about it for this video. So yeah, thank you all for listening. And I guess I will see you all in the next video. Farewell.